Well, this is Carol Kelso here, and I'm sitting out in the beautiful Medjugorje with two beautiful people, a couple from County Louth named Seamus and Joanne. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us. And how many times have you been to Medjugorje, Joanne?
I've been here 3 times.
Two.
And what do you think is the draw about Medjugorje? What brought you back?
Well, we'd both come on our own previously, and this time we wanted to come together as a couple to see if we could find a bit of peace, a bit of quiet, maybe be able to reflect on our marriage and the best way to strengthen it.
How about you, Seamus?
Same thing. Mostly our marriage and strengthening it, seeing if God was part of it.
Now, you had a brilliant experience while you were here. You were invited to participate in one of the visionaries' apparition. Tell us a bit about that, and how did it come about?
Well, we were over at the statue of Our Lady waiting to go, I think it was up to the Blue Cross with Philip, our guide, and before we left he called us over to one side and said that Ivan, the visionary, would be having an apparition with Our Lady that night, and that there were limited places, but he had 2 spaces if we would like to go, and he said he felt that we might benefit from being there.
My goodness. How did you feel about that? Were you shocked?
Totally shocked. We couldn't believe it, and it was a mixture of excitement and nerves and apprehension, and just I couldn't stop smiling.
Well, you're still smiling now. And how about you, Seamus? How did you feel about it?
I just loved the thought that we were going. Didn't feel privileged. Like I did feel very privileged, but why me? Why us?
So tell us what happened when you were there. What was the energy like in the room? Did you witness anything?
Well, we were lucky to get there quite early, so we got to sit right up at the very front, right up at the altar, and Ivan was to our left. We said the rosary, and then there was the chapel, a small chapel, but it was quite full. There was just complete quiet came over, and we knew then that Ivan was witnessing Our Lady.
Now, Ivan, for those who maybe don't know about Ivan is the guy who sees Our Lady and has been seeing her for several years.
Yes, he is one of the 6 visionaries who still, there's only a small number of them now that receive daily visions from Our Lady, so he's one of them. And it was quite obvious that Our Lady was there. His body language changed and he smiled. He held his hands out, although I only saw a few seconds of him, because as soon as we kneeled down I closed my eyes and opened my arms to Mary, and although I tried to open my eyes again several times, I just couldn't open them, and I felt my right arm move of its own accord with an open hand. I didn't know if it was being gently pushed or pulled, but then I had a sensation of something being wrapped around my hand and arm, and it just was like nothing I had ever experienced. Then I could feel like there were tears and sadness, really intense sadness, and then that changed to joy, and absolute joy bubbling.
Now, Seamus, you were beside her when this was happening. Obviously you must have seen her hand rise. You must have asked yourself, what is going on here?
Yeah, I seen Joanne's hand rise and reach up, and I put my arm around Joanne, but she didn't know it, my arm around her or anything, and I just held my arm around her. Her face was, I don't know, so still and cold, and I didn't know what was happening, but it was lovely, you know.
And you were saying there was another lady in the room who had a toddler. What was happening there?
There was a family there, a husband and wife and 2 children, and one of the children had a disability. We assumed the family were there for prayer for the child, but while as soon as Our Lady appeared, the wife began to cry. She started to sob. It was uncontrollable, and she was wailing, and just awful signs coming from her. Then she started to be sick, violently ill, and we knew that there was something happening to her, that there was something within her spirit that God didn't want there anymore, and Our Lady was removing it. So when we were leaving, she was still there. There was a lot of prayer. There were a number of priests in the congregation, so they were gathered around her, as was her husband, and they were all praying with her, and she was just totally motionless on the floor. But it wasn't scary. It was really reassuring to know that whatever was in her was gone, and that she would then get the prayer and the spiritual guidance that she needed.
So she was delivered from something that wasn't of God.
Without a doubt, yes, she was.
Seamus, how did you feel when this whole experience was happening? How did you feel?
Just before the apparition, before it happened, I went in there with an open mind, and my thoughts were just on a child we'd lost 14 years ago, and his name was in my head, Finbar, that was it. And I was hoping or thinking maybe something will happen, I'll see him or whatever, but it was only when the operation was over and the translator went up to the altar and translated for Ivan, and he said that Our Lady had come and prayed over us, and she had 3 angels with her. So I knew then that Finbar was there.
Well, it must have been such a gift to you both to be able to witness this. But also, as you were saying earlier on, it's all about reconciliation with ourselves and God. And sometimes we don't understand why things happen. I know you're talking, Seamus, about losing your son. How has Medjugorje and coming here made that difference in your life?
Oh, in one short week, Seamus and I, well, we've been blessed and challenged in equal measures, I would say. For every blessing, the other boy's been nipping at our heels and trying to undo the good. But there's a deep, deep love between us. And if we didn't or weren't sure of it before, Our Lady has certainly made sure that we know it now.
Well, looking at the two of you think you had just met. You're almost like on honeymoon. Really is wonderful. What do you think, Seamus, is the message of Medjugorje?
I think, well, for married couples like us, I think like every other married couple, we have problems, probably more than most married couples, because we went through awful hard times between ourselves, and reconciliation, maybe resentment of one another. But I would say now's the time that we feel in love with ourselves and with God, and God's part of that. And for me, I really know Joanne now, you know.
That's absolutely beautiful. And how about you, Joanne?
Yeah, same. I feel I really know Seamus, and he has got a chance to know the real me, maybe for the first time. And we're married 19 years. There were two words that I will take away with me that I think Our Lady has given me. And one is courage. Courage to be a really good wife and mother. Courage to be a witness to God. And the other is gentleness. I think she's calling me to be a gentle mother and a gentle wife like she was.
That's just absolutely wonderful. I know, Seamus, you do a lot of work in Romania. That is really God in action. Tell us a bit about the work that you do there.
Well, it's part of a big team, but I just do what I can when I can in an orphanage and building on bits and pieces to it, because that's what I can do. It's for Cross Cause charity, and that's just it.
And this is in Romania, isn't that right?
Yeah, Romania, and they have another project in Ghana as well. I have never been to Ghana, but...
So that really is the Christian message, is giving love, and as you said, being patient and showing the love of Christ whenever we can. So what is next for you? When I look at you two now, I'm seeing, wow, I am just saying, God is going to use you greatly. And you can see it in you both. What do you feel about that?
I think I personally would like to help other couples that maybe have problems to come here, find God, find Mary, find something mutual between both of them, that they can celebrate their love with God. And if we can do that in any way, I would love to be fit to do that, and especially both of us together.
How about you?
Same. I'd love that we would have the courage to give our full testimony to other couples, because we've been through terrible, terrible times together. Quite aside from the death of our son, we've been through other terrible times. So I'd love if we could give a message of hope to couples that are at breaking point or even broken, that there's always hope if you put your trust in God.
Well, Joanne and Seamus, you've started that now. And I hope the people who hear this message will receive it. And I just want to wish you both very, very many blessings. And I know the Lord has his hand on you. And I wish you both the very, very best. And thank you